Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a very special team versus team 5 versus 5 event hosted by Neverlastracing. Neverlastracing NLR will be facing off against our Relentless team tonight in what could potentially be NLR's toughest challenge yet. In these races, these race-offs they've had with 5 versus 5 teams, as you'll find on this channel, they are 3-1 up against their guest opponents. And also on this channel you will find a terrific race we had just last Sunday in the first of our esports league event. So do check that out if you haven't seen it already, where both of tonight's teams were participating along with 8 other teams with two dedicated drivers each nominated for each race. But tonight this is a one-off standalone race where we will have hopefully we'll have some live points positions for you at the midpoint of the race, for instance. Usually we can get some help with that. Welcome to anybody who's joining us on the stream. I can see audience picking up slowly. Do let me know which team you're here to support and what your predictions are. We are headed out to Mexico for the Circuito Hermanos Rodriguez, and very, very classic and very enjoyable circuit. Somewhat affected by the various changes. There's 2 very good sectors of this race, and I'll leave it to your imagination to know which 2 I'm talking about. First on out the pits is potentially one of our last drivers to arrive on the scene tonight, is Gerolf Yu, turning up fashionably late and straight out onto the start finish line, along with 2 of his teammates. So, as you can probably guess, the teams use the multiplayer car with customized liveries tonight. I've seen, obviously, the NLR livery, which I'm a big fan of. I haven't yet seen the Relentless one because they race with the F1 car liveries in our esports league that we've got running. But I usually give the first flying lap watch along and lap guide to the driver first out of the pits with their setup on. So that's what I'll do tonight. You can see that Gerolf Yu has managed to get various sponsors on the car as well, and nice and colour coordinated. He's even got his NLR special helmet on as well, look. So he's obviously all kitted out and ready to go for tonight's race. I think he's got the right gloves on, and I'm hoping that our drivers have organised colour coordinated overalls as well for when they get out there on the podium. But getting out of the final corner, all important exit for the very, very long straight. Relentless cars just coming out of the pits. I can see flash of purple and black, and we'll have a closer look at their livery when we next ride with one of those. But a late braking zone, 3rd gear into turn 1, quick switch back through to turn 2 and 3, and then gently pressing the throttle down for maximum traction on the way out of into the 2nd straight. We brake heavily into 4, which is almost a reverse version of turns 1 and 2. Then a double right-hander for turn 6, and then it's the fast flowing section. Very easy to invalidate through here. You can see Gerolf Yu is straddling the curbs almost completely across the centre plank of the car, and then down for the 3rd straight before heading into turn 12, where we begin this stadium section. Whenever I try and drive this, I absolutely detest this section of racetrack. I just can't get it right. Cannot get it right at all. Big oversteer moment for Gerolf Yu, and the end of his lap before he even got his safe banker in, lost the car. Good night to Gerolf Yu. He shakes his head, and that's the end of that one. It's not going to happen. Felix 1 goes fastest on a 14.5, Pachuca on a 15.0, but sadly we lose Gerolf Yu in the very immediate section. Ferg is on a lap. We'll follow Ferg along. I think he's going to be the first one. We'll get a quick look at the Relentless livery. An invalidation on the way out. Exactly the section I was talking about. So easy to get wrong. But I really wasn't expecting that from Gerolf Yu, and I imagine the guy's in shock right now after that occasion. Out there, just behind, let me see, just behind Ferg was Feral Fury, and he's got the Highland sponsor, he's got the rainbow stripe, and coming to start his fast lap right now. I'll keep you apprised of everybody else's laps, but we'll ride along with Feral Fury for his first attempt. To turn 1, you can see the tyre marks already forming on the heavy braking into turn 1. There's a tiny bit of trail braking needed to get through there. We have standard F1 points tonight, of course, points for every finisher because we only have 10 cars. So the race engineers will be putting a lot of pressure on their drivers to finish the race and bring it home. Wuta has gone P2. I'm going to say Wuta, it could be Wuta, but I'm going to read it as I see it. Wuta, and then Car Mentalist on a 15.4. So right now, a second separating the 4 drivers who've put their times in, but I expect that gap to drop. And Feral Fury then into the final few corners. This is 14 and 15, now 16, which is, and then 17 is kind of a very difficult traction moment. You can see the same problem for Feral Fury on the way out of the final corner that that Gerolf Yu had, but he just held it on those medium tyres. He might be going for a double run here as Abzi goes through and gets the 6th place on medium tyres. There would be an advantage here for running the medium tyres, of course, that being that you definitely will start on whatever tyre you qualify on here tonight. Currently we've got Wuta. I think he's going to be heading into the pits, is he? Yeah, I think his time is sufficiently slower than the other times on there. I think that's everybody else has done their fast lap. So we'll follow Axel along. Just check that Feral Fury or Abzi isn't going for a second lap. Let's see the sector time. Just as they go under the bridge, it doesn't matter because that one isn't going to count. Oh, Abzi is under his time there by about 1/4 of a second. So this one could be much better for Abzi. Might just needed that heat cycle to go through the tyres. And away to the line then, Abzi makes a 2/10 improvement, but only still good enough for 6th place on those medium tyres. And we'll join Axel this time because he's about to start his lap. Needs to be careful not to invalidate this last 2 corners because it will discount your next lap as well. So Axel away to start his lap now. And we'll get ourselves going. Simply can't believe what I've just seen from Gerolf Yu. I don't think he can believe it either. Said he's never had it before, so yeah, catching him by surprise. I think the track was very green, slippery. Axel absolutely toying with invalidating over those apex lines, but he's okay. Heavy braking down into turn 4 and 5. Short squirt. Down into second gear again, and then a short shift out, better traction. Goes for 5th gear through turn 11. Some drivers will drop an extra gear there, safely through the S's, and then just heavy braking after the bridge into the packed stadium section. Gets a nice apex there. Maybe slightly early on the steering input into turn 14, but out to the line. Short distance run 14.2 is your new pole position, and I'm very glad we caught that one in its fullness. So Axel, a 14.249 is a beautiful first time, and NLR I think going to be very happy with the times they're posting right now, with the front row lockout and overall a better series of grid positions here. Pachuca on a lap now. Can he survive the S's? Tries to go through in 6th gear. Manage it so far. It's that last section, and he's way over the line now. That he just had to feather the throttle, so he's still positive on his delta. He could end up a little bit higher here. In fact, he could leapfrog Ferg and split the highest 2 Relentless cars. Oh, and just an invalidation over that exit curb. I think he was being greedy, just wanted that extra little bit of time. Didn't want to settle on what he'd got. I think he had the opportunity to get into 4th place there, but gave it up. So we'll join Car Mentalist here in this very nice looking Relentless livery. Hooking up the apexes nicely. Looks like he's got coordinated gloves and helmet, so that's looking positive. Out wide on the way out of turn 6, but you can just about get away with that. Likewise, the approach into to turn 6 you can take fully off the track. And an invalidation as the outside left just grazes over the white line. I think if he looks back on that on photo mode, he'd probably see that it was still on the line. Certainly on my view, it was harsh from the game. Wuta though is looking good. He's positive at the moment on his delta, and heavy braking into the stadium section. This track is fraught with danger for invalidation in qualifying and for track limits penalties in the race, of course. I'm hoping for a minimum of penalties tonight, because it does make life very difficult from a commentary perspective. P2 for Wouter, so a 1:14.430. Not really troubling Axel's time just yet. And we'll ride with Ferg, who is just starting his lap. I think further out on a lap currently is Abzi. Let's just join Abzi, because he's a bit further around the lap and he's 3/10 faster, and he invalidates. So we'll go back to Ferg. And I think just behind him he's got another driver. Actually, I think, is that Wouter just ahead, or is it Feral Fury? It's Feral Fury on a lap who's just ahead on track, so we'll sit with him for a bit. He's obviously managed to secure the Highland sponsor, whereas I don't think Wouter did. I'm not sure that the liveries match exactly between Wouter and Car Mentalist. Obviously the colours are very much in alignment, and that's the main thing. Feral Fury then into this stadium sector. A lot of European flags, strangely, from the perspective of the flags in the stands. But Ferg for the line, just slightly quicker, 66 hundredths of a second faster than he's been before. Stays 4th, but moves slightly further away from Pachuca's time. I think is Abzi. He's started a new lap, I think, and he's slightly over his best time so far. This time he's running on softs, so I don't think he'll be very happy with that first sector, given that he did it on mediums before. So Gareth Hughes just talking strategy with the boss. I can see in the chat just an invalidation from Abzi while he was 4/10 under the time. It's not happening. There's 4.5 minutes left to go, so there's time to come in, get a new set of tyres on, and get out there and do it all over again. I hope all our drivers don't wait till the last possible moment to hit the track. And Ferg makes another invalidation through the S's. Ferg in P4 right now. Look to be on a little bit of a better run potentially, but he's going to pit as well, and we will have no drivers on hot laps at the moment. Pachuca has just come out the pits, so let's have a look at the cars from the outside of the cockpit view this time, just while he runs around, warms up the tyres, gets the car prepared. I don't think a lot of extra warming needed for these soft tyres. It's a long lap. There's some high loads go through the car, and away they go then. Pachuca currently P5 on a 15.0. All the other drivers in the pits, so Pachuca might have made a smart decision here to be outside of traffic worries. I don't know how much track evolution we will have with 10 cars circulating in qualifying. It might be a good idea for some of those drivers to come out and get a clear run. Of course, they could all come out and all then get traffic, but at least there's time then to slow down and get yourself together. So we've got another three drivers coming out the pits, but we will ride with Pachuca and see how his lap goes. So Pachuca down into turn 1, getting the car stopped well, using those apexes. Very close through turn 3 to an invalidation on the limit, but doing very well. Late braking down into turn 4, slightly late potentially on turn in. Now we head into the double right-hander of turn 6. Car looking hooked up, looks like we've got good grip. Hold your breath as you go through these S's each time. Just slightly losing the car, just had to come out of the throttle, and an invalidation for Pachuca right on the limit. I don't know if he will try and run another lap, but I've got everybody out on track right now, starting laps. So let's see who have we got. I think Felix is the first one across the line to start his next lap, followed by, I think, Axel will be the next one. Felix, again, really abusing that turn 3 apex, but it's a successful run for him so far. Slightly over his time. Let's cut over to Axel, see what his first sector time looks like. It's under. Axel's going faster still, so we'll stay with Axel because he's made an improvement. After that, we'll go and look at Feral Fury, Car Mentalist. Can he hold it? You almost have to give more of a margin than you think through here, but he's away, and we'll get the next sector time from Axel under the bridge. 1.5 tenths faster this time. Could this be a famous pole defense from Axel? Wide entry for the final 2 corners now, gently with the throttle and away, hugging the pit wall. A 1/4 second improvement down into the 113s. Tremendous work from Axel. Congratulations for a tremendous run. Let's see if we can't find one of, I think that I say Feral Fury was the next one. It is. So Feral Fury are ready to cross the line. These are the last runs of qualifying. If successful through this lap, they won't have the tyres to do another one. Feral Fury for the line then. 15.1. Good enough for 6th place right now. Next, I think, is Car Mentalist. He is significantly over his time. He will not go any faster this time out. But Ferg is still on 1, and he's 1.161 of a second faster. And out of the final corner. Slight improvement again. Ferg is obviously really close to his absolute limit on his laps. Wouter has unfortunately invalidated. Do we have any cars left running? I don't think we do. Felix 1 is going slowly. Axel is done for the day. I don't think Feral Fury and Car Mentalist got away in time to set another lap. There's a car coming up behind very quickly. Coming up behind Axel, but he's not on a fast lap, just anxious to get back to the pits. But it is Axel who gets the pole position tonight, and our drivers are very nicely split down the grid for a very competitive time here. So NLR 1st, 3rd, 5th, 8th and 10th, and you couldn't you couldn't want this to be any closer, could you? Relentless, 2nd, 4th, 6th, 7th and 9th. Brilliant stuff. So can't wait to get going on this race. Do let me know if you're watching along. Your predictions. Abzi might miss the start, so he might be dropping back thanks to his AI, potentially, we think. So we're just waiting here for the cars to finish off their laps or retire from the session. Usually drivers will do that. If we're waiting, there we go. I think that's what we've just had happen. Although it might have helped. It might have helped Abzi, who's been asked to go and assist someone in his house. Axel then with the Mexican race pole position, almost half a second faster than the rest of the competition. Axel from Wuta, Felix Juan Ferg, Pachuca, Farrell Fury, Car Mentalist, then Abzi, Coxey and Gerard Few. We didn't actually see Coxey run a lap, so I don't know if he's substituted at the last minute or he didn't get a time in and didn't get any track time, just joined during qualifying. And of course we saw what happened to Gerard Few's car on the final corner on his first attempt at a banker lap. So that's your grid. We will hopefully get live points, hopefully around the first pit stop completed point, and hopefully in time before the end of the race. Do let me know if you're watching on stream and you're part of the teams. Let me know your debriefs when you finish the race. And I can obviously let everybody know then what's happened to different drivers, how you felt on it. So predictions. Let's talk. Which team overall will get the win? Which driver will get the win? How many penalties will we see tonight? Who will get the first and the most penalties, and yeah, will we see the safety car tonight? I'm kind of expecting that we will. So away from the line on our formation lap go the teams. Axel just testing the launch on the car. Coxey is apparently having some connection issues, so if he can take the start, he will go through on AI. I think that might be what's going on now. I think it seems to be the car's okay. So at very least, he should be able to get 1 point out of today if his AI is playing up. This is just a problem that happens. Thanks for the information on that, Jordan. Good to have Nathan, Jordan and Clausen here. Nice to see people tuning in, especially Clausen, who's from a different team altogether. So always good to have new eyes on the racing. Just on our formation lap right now. And a reminder then, if you haven't heard my commentary before, my name is Webbo. And if you like what you hear, you can follow me at WebboRed5 on Twitter, where I post all my other races, usually around 6 or 7 races a week. This is my night off, but I'm doing Harley a favour and sacrificing some family time to get this one. So very pleased to be here all the same though. Do enjoy these team versus team races. I see Flying Crower has joined. Hey Avon. I know at one point you were hoping to be with us for co-commentary, but maybe next time. I don't think we made it in time tonight, but see if you enjoy what we do with these 5 versus 5 teammates. So Axel and Wuta, Felix and Ferg, cars alternated down the grid. Beautiful stuff, exactly what we want to see. It's 5 lights on. It's lights out, a little pause, and away we go with the front two cars almost equal away from the start. The purple Wuta Relentless car looks to be able to hold that inside line, and we barrel down the start-finish straight. Some slipstream going on. It looks like this has absolutely favoured the Relentless team as they go through the first two corners. Relentless up to P1 and 3 from second and fourth, and looks to be all of our drivers further down surviving this one. Another slipstream opportunity. I can see battling going on. Pachuca and Car Mentalist. Car Mentalist getting around the outside. Pachuca holding on. Better traction out of this corner, but Car Mentalist will have the inside line through 6 and just about holds him off. Actually leaves him vulnerable to Farrell Fury. And we've got Abzi and Garofew further down. Cox has had an amazing start. Didn't set a time in qualifying, and he's up to P5 already. What a start. Really, that one favouring the Relentless team as Felix 1 comes down the inside after the bridge. Drives the Relentless car off the circuit, but he holds on. It's a tarmac runoff, so they will keep competing. They will go side by side, and eventually Felix 1 has to cede to Ferg. Again, will feel pretty vulnerable going down the long straight with Cox and Car Mentalist locked behind him. Let's see what these guys can do. Let's ride with Car Mentalist because he'll have the toe of his life going down the huge start-finish straight. And we head down to turn 1. He's going to show himself in the mirrors. They could have coordinated a bit of a better move on the NLR car, but it looks like Ferg made a mistake going through. They're going to go 3 wide into turn 2. And Felix 1 with a beautiful move through into turn 3. Gets 2 Relentless cars in one corner. What a move. All precipitated by Ferg's poor braking into turn 1. And Felix 1 back up to third. Axel in second, half a second back from Wuta's lead right now. What a beautiful start to the race we've just had. Further down, I think we're just gonna slipstream all night long because Coxey is now he's now dropped down to P7 after that moment. Car Mentalist gets by Ferg just ahead of us, and through the S's. There's no room for more than one car to thread their way through the S's. Barely even room for one car at full racing speed. Farrell Fury down the inside of Garofew into the stadium. And this is action-packed throughout the grid. Garofew leaving it very late to get on the brakes in the second part of the stadium. But Farrell Fury got away from him quite comfortably in the end. And up at the front, Axel chasing down Wuta. That's your closest battle so far down the grid. Let's go back down because Pachuca might be able to make a move. Not quite close enough on his own, but Garofew again shaping in the mirrors of Farrell Fury's car and almost making a move there down into P8. But DRS will now be enabled and the cars will start to get a lot closer to each other very shortly. Can we see tyres? Yeah, apologies. It's all just happened very quickly. Of course, absolutely. Let's have a quick look at places gained. Car Mentalist up 3 now. Coxey up 2. But he was as high as 5th at one point. I'm going to put telemetry on as well because guess who forgot to do that in all the excitement. But Coxey, quarter of a second back from Pachuca. Tough to follow through the S's. And he's now got a DRS train forming, so he won't be able to get the top speed difference that he'd be wanting here. And we'll go up to the lead in a second because it doesn't look like these guys are changing positions. But now it's Axel with DRS. Beautiful long straight for DRS to be in action. Wuta comes to the middle of the track. Axel breezes on by up the inside and before the braking zone is passed through turn 1 and 2. Felix 1 has gapped Car Mentalist, who has Ferg close behind him, and then we have this DRS train forming between 4 cars in the battle for 4th. I think Wuta is unable potentially to catch Axel this straight at least, so we'll have to wait for the run down to the stadium before he can have another go. These cars DRS power just cancelling each other out, and Ferg won't want to launch one too speculatively up the inside of Car Mentalist and ruin both their runs through the stadium. I'm sure Half a second is the gap at the front, then 2.6 seconds, then 2.2, then this four-way battle for now fourth place between the drivers. Just can't get the overlap sufficiently into there, but back up at the front we've got a close battle at the back as well, but we'll focus on the front for now where all the big points are. And Wouter is getting the hurry up from his friends in the chat, from his boss in his ear, I'm sure. And Wouter now with the next opportunity for DRS, gets by. Carbon copy move from the lap previous from Axel. And what will Axel do? Will he just wait for the same opportunity, save his tyres? At this stage, 4 laps on these soft tyres. The race will come to Gerofyu and Abzi, of course. Their delta not too strong from the rest of the field. Wouter getting fastest first sector in that move. Pachuca it is with the first penalty, and I think that might actually be just the track limits. Yeah, track limits for Pachuca. So whoever marked Pachuca down on their cards, congratulations. It's one for you. Axel then 3/4 of the second now back from Wouter. Will he be able to close in a little bit more on the way in? Looks like Pachuca has got past Coxey in this run. He's a lone NLR car with Relentless all over him. Holds the inside line, should get the second inside run. Oh, a little touch side pod to wheel, a little rub on the outside curve, and they just make it through. Pachuca in no mood to give up the place there at all. They both get DRS down the straight, and I don't know if Coxey will quite have the overlap here. And up at the front, doesn't look like Axel's going to do it either down this straight. But the tyres coming now to Gerofyu, these medium tyres, it hasn't helped them in their launch off the start, but away they go. And I think that will be the more likely move very soon, because the soft tyres are going to start going off. They've done 5 laps right now. What's the predictions for the chat, for everyone in the chat to predict for the times that these soft tyres will go off? How many laps at full racing speed? We haven't yet had a caution, so they're ragging these tyres as much as possible, but the softs will start to fade, and I think around now the mediums will be the faster tyre pretty soon. So Wouter just stretching the lead now out at the front to 8/10, and Coxey can't get by Pachuca. This stage Pachuca has oh, he's hit the wall. I'm sure Pachuca just rubbed the wall on the exit, the final corner, just like he made Coxey do on the previous lap. I'm certainly just rubbed the wall there, so I hope he didn't get any form of damage. I'm sure one of the team will let us know. So Clausen says 2 to 3 more laps is all the soft tyres will run. So if you're starting on softs, could well be a 2-stopper tonight. 36 laps, we've had 7. It's Wouter from Axel and Felix 1, Carmentalist, Ferg, Pachuca, Coxey, Gerofyu, Farrell, Fury and Abzi at the back. But that means, of course, Relentless 1st, 4th, 5th, 7th and 9th with the better of the run through this first stage of the race. NLR, of course, then in 2nd, 3rd, 6th, 8th and 10th positions. Points are going to be close, I'm sure, at this stage, but we will get an update hopefully after the first run of pit stops. Pachuca with the only penalty of the race so far. Axel called the tyres, saved some ERS, I think, and he's joining back behind Wouter. So he's let Wouter had a couple of laps in the lead. Will he attack this time out? 6/10 as they come out of the final corner. Obviously plenty enough for DRS. Isn't spending much in the way of ERS coming down the grid. He's got more in the bank though, more in the batteries than Wouter has got. Wouter was using it to stretch away, and Axel brings that gap down, only 2/10 down that long straight, so obviously not set up with quite the top speed of his rival on their setup so far. Pachuca with another penalty. We've lost Coxey. What has happened to Coxey? Looks like he's out of the race on the exit of turn 3. Let's ride with Farrell Fury and see what happened, but that has triggered a safety car. I didn't see the accident that happened. We'll try and see where the debris is. Have a look on the way out of this corner. I can see just some small scatterings of debris, but that's where Coxey lost it somehow or other, and out of the race he goes. Unfortunately, we lose our first driver, and Relentless lose a possible point from this race tonight. So lap 8 was the time when we had our first safety car, and Wuta, of course, into the pits. Axel will follow. All these soft runners, I'm sure, will decide this is the moment for a change of strategy, change of tyres. In they come one by one, and I don't know even if Abzi and Gerolf will do the same thing. Indeed they do. So while the race was coming to them on the tyres, it's still an opportune time to get a cheap pit stop. Of course, everybody will end up with a cheap pit stop, and we'll just reset as if we started the race on lap 9 or 10, depending on how long the train take to catch the safety car. The safety car's waiting there on the exit of 3 for Wuta. Just be careful he doesn't overshoot or hit it. Absolutely right. It doesn't help the medium runners. Now Abzi, interestingly enough, Abzi's gone onto hards. Axel onto softs. So committing to a 2-stop strategy, but Abzi has the opportunity to try something different. The positions have all swapped around, of course, because of how it's favoured different runners during the stops. Of course, we've still got Wuta and Alec and Axel up there at the front with their grid places reversed. Car Mentalist up 3 and Gerolf up 3, with Pachuca down 4 and having gained 2 penalties so far. Going to need to drive a much more careful race than he has done so far as the tyres started to die on him. But it is Abzi with the interesting strategic call here. He will potentially be quite vulnerable, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Abzi in P9 at the end of lap 2, at the end of lap the first restart lap potentially. Those hard tyres will be very, very difficult to reorganise. Axel may well be able to get the lead from Wuta using the soft tyre advantage, and the bottom 3 on our order likewise will hope to gain some places in this stint of the race. They drifted back a little bit, not hugely far, but they drifted back somewhat from from the leaders. Of course, that's all reset now. Lap 10 of 36. So it's a long racetrack, but because so much of it is at full throttle, it's still 36 laps to qualify for 50%. So still quite a long race when it comes down to it. Cars all in a line now. Everybody, well, no, we've still got a driver. I think Pachuca's gone back round and gone for another a set of mediums. So he's made another pit stop, I think. Is that 2 for him? It is 2 stops. So didn't want the soft tyres, just put them on so that he can cycle through for a different set. I'm surprised, honestly, that he didn't go onto hard tyres like Abzi there. You've got enough of the team on different strategies to make sure that they've at least someone's got the right strategy tonight. That's the theory, at least. Should be that Pachuca will catch the back of the train and be able to release the safety car at the end of this lap, I hope. So Relentless, 1st, 4th, 5th and 8th, and with an extra car in the game now. NLR 2nd, 3rd, 6th, 7th and 9th. So advantage NLR, I think, at this point. The hard tyre, Clausen says, is difficult to race with. Oh, absolutely. But is it 25 seconds worse? That's really the question if we have clean running right to the end. Safety car has dispatched into the pits. Wuta will decide when to go. I think he's going very shortly. Yes, releases the throttle now, and Axel not able to stay with him perfectly. Don't think he's going to catch a tow this way. I think he's a little bit too far back, but Ferg is quite close to Car Mentalist. Will they cooperate and swap places? So far, so safely through the first couple of corners for our drivers after the restart, which is always difficult. Abzi has lost at least one place, and Axel's got by using DRS on the way out of turn 3, and that's the additional traction for the soft tyres, as well as, of course, as brilliant driving. I mean, no shade, but he's doing brilliant so far. So Axel back with the lead, and now looking to get away from Wouter emphatically on this first lap on the good tyres. And actually, Felix 1 is closer to Wouter than Wouter is to Axel. So Felix 1 getting those medium tyres up to temperature quicker potentially than Wouter here. Yeah, we'd love to know what happened to Coxey. We didn't catch it, unfortunately. Such is the way sometimes when you're looking at when you're looking at close battles and someone loses it in one respect or another. Very difficult. So I think someone just pressed my brain on pause for a moment there. Ferg still closing on Car Mentalist, but Gerolf Yu right behind him here. Ferg using the middle of the track, and Gerolf Yu can't get by, but these soft tyres, he should be able to get good traction out of the next corner. Although there's probably little opportunity to get through here. Crosses over the apex, gets a beautiful run down the final straight on the game. Safely into there, but a little bit of contact, and unfortunately that turned the car round. Gerolf Yu unable to do a spin turn quite quickly enough, and unfortunately that's ruined his attempt here to capitalise on the soft tyres. Did that say DRS enabled again? I think it did. Unfortunately, Gerolf Yu back down to the bottom of the order at the moment. Abzi holding on with those tyres, but Pachuca just getting by him. A little bit of cooperation between teammates. Good to see. Yeah, Coxey, not entirely sure which driver is being blamed for his accident. Certainly not admitting fault himself. I think there was contact. And I guess we could probably work it out, replay the stream and find out where people were relation to each other. But staunch defence that time from the Relentless team, and Gerolf Yu spun around and down the order back to the back. He's now got an 8-second gap to catch again, and definitely a race of adversity for Gerolf Yu so far tonight. Felix 1 is staying with Wouter, who has been absolutely dropped by Axel on those soft tyres. Axel will have to just rein it in a little bit and try and make these tyres last till the next safety car, if there is going to be one. You can see we've got pairs of cars coming down the start-finish straight. No action there. No action between those two, and then we've got these three at the battle for 6th place: Pachuca, Abzi, and Feral Fury. Abzi trying to stay with the medium runners, trying to hold off Feral Fury here, but it's a very difficult task for him. If he can keep the DRS on Pachuca, and I don't know if the instructions gone out to Pachuca to try and keep Abzi in the DRS zone at this stage of the race, because that will help him defend against Feral Fury until Feral Fury's tyres hit that lap 9 or 10 mark. And you've got to think that the soft runners will be hoping that we do get another caution and bring them back into contention if the mediums are able to make it to the end of the race. doing okay at the moment, but Abzi's just slipped back from Pachuca, so he won't get DRS and he'll be super vulnerable now down the start-finish straight. He won't thank his teammate for getting away from him there. Really could have done him a favour by keeping him within DRS. Shapes to the inside, might be a losing battle. He's not sufficiently by, but Abzi quite shy really in that move. Doesn't want to get involved in anything too dramatic, and you can understand why. He needs to save a pit stop. Well, he will be saving a pit stop on everybody else potentially if this race runs green to the end. So doesn't necessarily need to fight every single battle through here. Current points, thanks to Harley, is NLR 57, Relentless 46. So there's all to play for. Just a couple of positions swapped and it will be all turning around, of course. Let's go and have a look at Felix 1, who continues to close in on the back of Wuta and should be within striking distance at the end of this next 2 straights at least. He's got the Shark sponsor on his end plates, and he smells blood in the water with Wuta's car. Just 5 tenths away. Make that 4, make that 3.5, make that 2.5. Can he do it here? No, I think it might be better to wait for the next zone, get through these 2 corners smoothly. It looks like Wuta just pushing hard, rode the second apex curb quite heavy. And will he be able to make a move here into turn 4? Tries one. Not able to do it. Wuta just putting his car safely in the middle of the track. And lives to fight for another DRS zone at least. I'm not sure who Jav is, whether he's the Relentless team boss, but he says you've already won to NLR. That's not exactly the spirit we're looking for in these races, but maybe he's of the Toto Wolff school of team boss, just talking up your opposition all the time and talking down your own chances. Time will tell, of course. I'm sure that the drivers will be fighting right to the end, not only for their team but for bragging rights within their team. Currently those belong to Axel and Wuta for their respective teams, but Felix 1 definitely wants to get on terms with Axel here and depose Wuta, get a NLR 1-2. Will saying that, yeah, NLR actually beat ADRT with 4 drivers, so it's not impossible. Anything can happen in these races. Just got to keep your eyes alert, as it looks like Ferg gets by Car Mentalist. Little bit of formation flying there from the 2 drivers. Just falling back slightly now from the Felix and Wuta battle. So we've got a roughly 5-second gap at the front from Axel to Wuta. A 5-second gap from Felix to Ferg. And then 2.5 seconds from Car Mentalist to Pachuca. And then similar to Farrell Fury. Gerolf Yu has closed by a couple of seconds in about 4 or 5 laps. Car Mentalist and Ferg just battling with each other right now, which will please the NLR team no end. But Felix 1 now 6 tenths is his gap after the stadium. And I think he's going to have to spend a bit of ERS here to get by Wuta. Wuta is spending to defend, so Wuta down to about 15% ERS. So if he continues that pattern, Felix will have about 20% extra to battle with. And Wuta just moving around on track, making sure that Felix isn't going to dart to the inside. Nice to have Passe here as well, and Total Peace. Good to see everybody tuning in. Don't forget, on non-Grand Prix Sundays, we have our Team League event that's going on, round 2 coming up, weekend after this one. make sure that you're never having a Sunday without a race to watch. I think that's the plan. We'll have a 10 race championship, 9 to go. Both these teams will feature heavily. So now Felix One comes out of the pits with a 4.5 tenth gap, and that's comes out of the stadium with a 4.5 tenth gap. That's a lot more likely to make the pass move. Gets the inside on the way into turn 1. Will he get it done before the braking zone? Yes, he does. Perfect move, using all the tools available to him, and away he goes then. Will Wouter fight back, and will Felix One be able to put a sufficient gap? He gets a second burst of DRS down the straight, the second straight on the game, and that should suffice to clear Wouter, because it's an even shorter one on the way out of the S's. So long as Felix can get through this section safely, you feel he should be able to now safely defend. Ooh, big step out of the throttle in the middle of the S's. Does that leave him vulnerable to Wouter? No, not quite. So Wouter closing, but that 0.6 of a second gap, that's the real magic one that just makes it too difficult on the way out of the final corner. Unless he's got a better top speed. He doesn't have a lot of ERS. I think he has got better top speed, so Felix is going to have to defend this one. He chooses not to, strangely, and cedes the position. So Felix has a much harder time getting by Wouter's car on the straight than Wouter does for him. And Wouter back to P2. They can see Axel up ahead, but it's 5 seconds the gap at the front of the race so far. I think we might do well to go and watch Abzi and Farrell Fury in a moment, as Ferg and Car Mentalist continue to run line astern, and they can't decide which of them is faster at this stage. I think we'll be waiting for a pit stop soon, I think, from Axel, from Farrell Fury and Gerolf Yu, and they will be hoping to eke the tyres along until potential caution, in which point they will dive into the pits gratefully. Felix One now back to 5 or 6 tenths, and he just doesn't have the top speed to make a 6-tenth gap move on Wouter. Down the start-finish straight for another time. Felix still with slightly more ERS here, but probably not a good time to spend it. Still plenty of laps to run in this race, so plenty of opportunity for him to get this place back. He could even do it out of this corner. He closed considerably in the first 3 corners. Point system is official Formula 1 points, Jav, so you should be able to do your own calculations, I guess. And I don't believe there's a point for a DNF, even if you come 10th in classified. So I think it's only points for finishers, to encourage people to finish this off. Wouter has now got a penalty, so that absolutely opens this one up. Farrell Fury's come in the pits from the soft tyres, so that one's the first trigger point. Car Mentalist with a penalty, so Wouter, Car Mentalist and Ferg, penalties for all of them, plus for Relentless. Relentlessly getting penalties at the moment, at least, and just 1 penalty for the NLR team, but in total it equals the penalties of Relentless. So that's Pachuca getting all the penalties for NLR, but that means that only 1 driver will drop down instead of 3. Points update coming soon, apparently, into the second third of our race. You can see the penalties. Hopefully Harley can take into account those penalties. There's not too many cars on track, but it's obviously a moving factor all the time. 12 laps on the soft tyres for Axel and Gerolf Yu. Axel's gap has just dropped slightly to Wouter. He was 5 seconds ahead, and he's now down to 3.5. I wonder if that's the trigger point. The 12th lap is the time when the tyres just He can't live with the grip levels, especially through the S's. It's now down to 3.4 seconds. So for me, that's the indication that it's time to pit and get off those soft tyres. But he's in the driving seat, and someone else is in the race director's seat. He does come into the pits as his pace starts to drop off. It's potentially a lap too late, maybe, but time will tell. As Wouter and Felix go on past Axel, and we'll see where Axel comes out of the pits, whether he manages to come out ahead of Car Mentalist. He does not. He and Ferg get by, and Pachuca. So Axel all the way down to P6 now, but with fresh tyres through to the end of the race. Potentially all the medium runners, they might be able to stretch the tyres to the end, but if they do pit, they'll be pitting for softs. We've got 13 laps to go, so any time after lap 25 will be a fairly safe time to put softs on. Abzi though could be the difference maker tonight, down there in 7th, but needs to stay within 20 odd seconds of the leader, and he's within that gap. So if all the top drivers apart from Axel need to pit again, Abzi could be up there on the podium, could bring those hard tyres home. And again, another call might go out to Axel to suggest that Abzi might benefit from his DRS, but I'm sure Axel will be pounding in the quali times right now to try and get by all of these drivers on the pit delta when it's time for their pit stops. It's possible they could run the mediums to the end. It all depends on driving style. Felix down to a quarter of a second as they approach turn 1. It's not enough again. He's managed to bank a good amount of ERS, especially when you compare it to Wouter's. So when he decides to have a go, he will have a lot of power at his disposal. Oh, almost touches the back. I don't know if he did touch the back, in fact, of Wouter. Such was Wouter's braking area. His minimum speed a lot lower than he was expecting. So Harley will do a points calculation for us when people have done their second stops. However, of course, people might not do the second stop. So when it becomes apparent that people are either pitting or not, we will hopefully get a points update. At the moment, Relentless in 1st, 3rd, 4th and 9th, and NLR taking up all the other positions on the track with a clear run from 5th to 8th. And of course, Coxey will not score tonight. Just confirm that for me, Harley, that that a DNF driver won't pick up points, if you will. 3/10 now, this gap. This is a good opportunity for Felix to get by. Again, as we said, he doesn't have the top speed to defend a 6th, 10th gap to Wouter coming out of the final corner, so he needs to open up beyond a 6th, 10th gap on his escape lap here. He inherits the lead though with 11 laps to go, so he'll be either pitting for softs or asking for 26 laps out of the mediums. Further down the grid, you can see Abzi just dropping back a little bit more here. He's now 18 seconds, his gap to the lead, and just opening up further to a point where he will potentially not be able to get that podium. Yeah, Harley does confirm for me, thank you, that that DNFs do not score points. So we absolutely, the reason is we definitely want to encourage drivers to finish the race come what may. Felix comes in the pits, so splits that difference. We'll be trying to run an 11-lap run there on the soft tyres. Wouter does exactly the same thing, which I'm a little confused by. I would have thought it's almost a guarantee that you'll be back out in exactly the same order. And the one thing that we don't have here in team racing is the opportunity to see cars stacking together. They all have their own pit box. Total P's was just doing as a points total, and then everyone's piled into the pits. So yeah, thank you for the effort. We appreciate it. Pachuca stayed out for this lap and came back up to the lead now. And of course, it's all changed around all of a sudden with Axel, your de facto leader. It does look like it's unlikely for Axel for Pachuca to run this to the end. Abzi though probably will, and he gets by Pachuca quite comfortably. But he could do with giving Pachuca some DRS down this straight at least, help him along. I think he's got it. Felix won with a penalty now, again changing the shape of the race. Now Abzi can absolutely get through this and gain on all those drivers who have got penalties if he can hold on to not getting one tonight. It would be a tremendous run if he can do it, but he could, at the moment he's within range of Wuta, although we do feel like Wuta's potentially got a little bit better pace. Pachuca in the pits, so we resume our order now that Pachuca's pitted. Our order should be Axel and Felix 1. Axel out there is resumed that 5-second gap again, and Wuta now closing to within 4/10 against Felix, and this battle will continue the rest of the race. He gets by again. Nice move from Wuta on those new softs. I think Wuta's got some good speed when the soft tyres are on. I don't think he likes the mediums so much. We'll see what Felix can do to retaliate or force another error. Abzi already has dropped back from the penalty of these two, so won't be seeing the podium as things stand right now. I think Harley's furiously hammering onto the calculator to give us our update. Ferg has a penalty now. Ferg up to 6 seconds, and Ferg and Carmentalist still close together on track, but we've got fairly sizable gaps between the other drivers. So this battle here for the second place on the podium, as Wuta gets the new fastest lap, and then a close battle between Relentless teammates going on. Felix getting by nicely into the braking zone of turn 1. We've got 8 laps to run in this Mexican Grand Prix. Felix tempting Wuta down the inside there, but he's not close enough to make a move. And now Felix trying to stretch that lead again. He just can't get the gap he needs to from Wuta, and he's also wearing a purple helmet tonight, which is not on brand, is it? For him. And now Wuta gets another penalty, so he must have been cutting it very fine indeed, and that might be worth Abzi trying to catch these guys. I think the hard tyres are really struggling right now, but if he can try and hold that speed difference as much as possible over the next few laps, the tyres will come back to him towards the end of the race as the soft tyres die off. But you know, close to a second a lap difference between the soft and the hard. Wuta getting by once again. Felix not fighting it too hard again. Doesn't need to now with that penalty delta. And our running total from Harley is 63 to NLR, 38 to Relentless. Looks like a convincing lead in this 5 versus 5 battle so far. First, third and fourth will do that for you, I'm sure, with the points difference. But who knows how this one finishes up. As the soft tyres die at the end of this race, we could see, and people are going for fastest lap, we could see issues where drivers either make a mistake and get a penalty or make a terminal error. We certainly hope not. We'd like to see 9 cars get to the end of this race. Felix now 4.5 tenths on the way into the stadium. Can he hold on to that and get past once again? Wuta and Felix have caught Axel significantly here and Axel is going to start being vulnerable. So if Felix wants to get past Wouter, he's going to need to do it soon before Wouter gets DRS on the back of Axel. Those medium tyres not giving anywhere near the kind of grip that the softs are giving to Felix and Wouter here. Yeah, 6 laps on the medium for Axel. Again, the grip will come to him shortly, but he'll have a few laps of pain, another 3 laps really here where he's going to struggle to hold off Felix, but it's definitely going to help Felix's defence of Wouter that he's got a DRS on the back of Axel. That's timed beautifully for Felix, and while he's got DRS he can presumably save some ERS. How's Wouter doing? He's just constantly operating around the 13% mark, Wouter, through the whole race. Axel has saved a little. Felix customarily has saved a lot for the end of the race, and I don't know if he's going to have the pace here to actually get by his teammate. If he does, that will bring Wouter into play again, and he's going to shape to the inside. Hopefully they're not going to fight this one too hard. He is going to fight against Wouter. Brings to the inside for Axel. Will go round turn 1 side by side with Axel, but he's just got so much better grip at this stage. And actually, Axel doesn't really need to fight this too hard. He needs to stay with these drivers, but they've both got penalties and he hasn't. And if they fight too hard, that will cause him to either get a penalty or a DNF. So wise to just let this one go, lose the battle to win the war. Speaking of losing battles, Abzi's just lost 2 places to Relentless cars on the space of half a lap. So obviously Abzi's hard tyres doing him no favours whatsoever against the soft runners at this point, and even I can't even predict that the grip will come back to him at this point. It looks like it's gone and it's not coming back. The soft tyres will fade at the same rate really as the hards, and a valiant effort from Abzi, but just unable to live with the soft runners at this stage. So Carmen System Ferg both get by Abzi, and they will continue battling. Wouter back on the offensive against Felix, who sweeps around the outside, puts himself in a fairly dangerous position there, but just about holds on through the first 3 corners. 4 laps now to go in our race. I really feel very tense when Felix puts himself on the outside of Wouter. If he can use the inside, he can make Wouter go the long way and put himself in the vulnerable position. But being on the outside is so dangerous, and it is Wouter who gets by this time out. The amount of lead changes we've had tonight been absolutely epic. Wouter down to 5% ERS with 4 laps to go. Felix on 21 and Axel approaching 20. Current order, got Relentless first, 4th, 5th and 8th, and LLR in 2nd, 3rd, 6th, 7th and 9th. Gerofyu looked like he had some pace in quali before wiping out, but not a lot of race pace after that incident where he lost around 8 seconds. He's taken another pit stop, I presume, in a bid for fastest lap. He'll be in the best position to get that, and he only needs a 10th, better than Wouter's got so far. I don't see Wouter going any faster at this point. 6 lap old soft, so Gerofyu, watch for him to try and nab that fastest lap point. Currently a minute down though, a minute down the standings. We're down to 3 laps to go. Wouter has the lead on the road, but a 6-second penalty against Felix One, who has a 3-second penalty. Oh, Axel! Axel throws away a potential win by getting an equal penalty to Felix, so he's now going to have to get by his teammate if he wants to win tonight. I was not expecting that one, and we now just have Abzi without a penalty tonight. Incredible stuff. Abzi trying to stay with Relentless, Relentless teams, Car Mentalist and Ferg, and if he can potentially hold on to 4th place tonight. Felix is going to try and get by Wouter. It's catching him towards the end of the straight, but perhaps not this opportunity. Axel was almost nailed on for the win tonight there, and now it's advantage Felix. So things changing on us all the time. Felix just saving his ERS yet again. 2 complete laps to run after they cross the line for the next time. Wouter has a very small lead on the road. A moral victory perhaps he would claim for taking the on the road win, but it doesn't matter when we operate strict corner cutting rules. Supposed to try and keep the drivers honest. Unfortunately, the only driver who's running a clean race is Abzi so far, and he's holding on. That's the gap to the leader. So we'll have a look at the gap at the interval. He's 3.9 seconds, so he may get 1 place here if he can stay within 6 seconds of Ferg. Two laps to go. We ride on board Felix's front wing. You can see how much he closes, but he just can't get the top speed to get by Wouter at the end here. I don't think the soft tyres are going to fade enough for Axel to put up much of a fight for the win here. It will be, I think it's going to be Felix's to win. Felix with Slingshot sponsor on the side of the car, and isn't able to get a sufficient slingshot out of the final corner just yet. He's saving all of his ERS for one final stab, and well, he might. This is potentially his last and, well, certainly best opportunity is on the way out of this final corner. He knows it, and he gets very close through the stadium. It's all about this exit now for Felix to try and win this one on the road, as well as after penalties. Felix, 4.5 tenths. Spend that ERS, and away he goes. This one should get it relatively easily, but you can see the top speed, the stall that happens as he gets by Wouter and doesn't get the slipstream anymore, but he takes the lead on the final lap of the race. He's got 2 DRS zones to survive. He'll actually get the DRS himself on this one, and maybe Axel will be able to start making a nuisance of himself in Wouter's mirrors. Felix taking the lead on the final lap. They've swapped positions all the way through this race, but potentially it's the final one that counts. Felix just stretching, just needs to hold on through the S's. Can he keep it together here for a very strong victory, especially against the speed that Axel was showing earlier in the race? Axel should hold on for second place here. The fireworks go off in the stadium. The race isn't over yet. He still has to get out of the final corner. We know that's not always a certainty, but safely through that final corner comes Felix for the win. Axel with second place for NLR, a 1-2. Wouter gets the 3rd place. Then we have Car Mentalist and Ferg still running next to each other on track. Line astern, Relentless teammates coming home to cross the line. 4th and 5th, will Abzi get it? He's 5.8 seconds, 5.9 seconds, just gets that 5th place and splits the Relentless teammates. So Abzi on a hard tyre run gets the final place there. Beautiful move from Abzi. He held on very, very well indeed. I think that one is going to be I think that's going to be NLR's all day long, but we'll give you the specific points as soon as we get them. Abzi with driver of the day, and who could argue with that one? Axel had great speed, but lost it at the end. Well, this is very bad. It looks like we've got an NLR driver wearing purple overalls on the front of the grid, unless we had a glitch penalty at the end from Felix for the 22nd penalty, but Felix takes the win tonight regardless. Axel second place, strong race from the NLR boys, and GG's to Relentless for putting up a tremendous fight. Wouter kept that fastest lap at the end. Gerolf, you couldn't get it, so the bonus point to Wouter. Congratulations. Yeah, Felix is wearing completely the wrong overalls. We need to have words about that, Felix. Felix with a great win from third on the grid. Axel getting the second place. We have an all-German front row for NLR and for Relentless and Netherlands. Wouter, Carmentalis from the UK and Relentless. Then Abzi from Hungary, Ferg from somewhere in the world, Pachuca from Finland, Farrell Fury from Ireland, Gerolf Yu from Germany, and Coxey we lost early on after what we believe to be contact with a rival teammate, with a rival not a teammate in the first few laps. But brilliant stuff. Final result, 62 points NLR, 40 Relentless, and NLR go 4-1 in their team versus team battles, and who is next to challenge them and see if they can if they can beat them. Don't forget, we will give you advance notice of our next events, but as much as possible on socials. So make sure you're following NLR's socials. Make sure you follow me at WebberRed5. If you want to say thanks for the commentary tonight, you could always leave me a tip or buy me a drink, and Harley can help you out with a link for that. But do make sure that you stay tuned to all the output that we have on neverlastracing. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and you've liked this video, please. And so in about 10 days, 9 or 10 days time, we will have round 2 of our esports league for that includes both of the teams racing tonight, and hopefully we will see a better result out of round 2 for NLR, the home boys, as much as possible. But very grateful for everybody's engagement. Thanks for staying with us. Thanks for watching. Share it on socials if you enjoyed it. I certainly did. And until next time, everybody, we will catch you on the next race day.